Okay guys, I need to wire the truck onto the trailer because I've got some more Harry Potter Lego to do. So let's get into it.
Right, here we go again. We're going to dial in this tractor unit with the trailer, and I've got to get a move on because Harriet wants to do her Lego, which I paid for. Great stuff. So this needs to be done to a point where it's rolling and I can drive it around and do the load bed, you know, when it's all running, because this is the important bit. Now, if you remember in the last video, I said that I pulled the servo plug out of the receiver. I pulled it by its wires and pulled the plug off. So I've just put an extension on there, so I'm not struggling to disconnect it if I need to in the future. And then on the receiver for the beacons, I've just put a Y lead in. I will be using this. I got carried away, I got into it without actually starting to record anything. So when I finished that, I was thinking, I haven't told anybody what I'm doing. So I'm going to use a servo lead, which I've got a length of servo wire. I was going to use that, but this is slightly smaller, and I will put a Molex connector on there so it plugs into there, but I will be sleeving all of this from the trailer part way up to here because, you know, I don't want a load of different coloured wires in there. So I'm going to stick a Molex on the end of that, and I don't know, I might even test to see if it works before I go any further. So just test it as I go along. Need to put on the cab stay, so because I think everything's going to be coming up from the stainless steel cab stay from KK Truck Store, which I did show you that in a previous video. I just think it'll look better. Plus the other point of putting this on is because on the back of the cab, just in here, there's a square block with a pin that sits down here onto a thing, and a little R clip goes in to hold the cab down, and that's quite deep. I think it's about 10mm, and this is going to give me that 10mm extra room, so when I tilt the cab over, it's not going to catch any wires and pull them out. Not that I expect to release the cab that often, so I'm going to fit that, and I shall be back when I've done that. So there's the shorty pack connected up. People say you can't run lipos on the MFCs. There's no reason why you can't. The only thing you have to do is make sure you've got a low voltage buzzer so your lipo doesn't under discharge and damage it. So this is just for the test on the beacons. So I'm going to power up the radio. Little mule. I need to get that down to Ainscough. Ainscough crane hire. and then turn that on. And there's no smoke, which is a good sign. Let me just unclip you from the tripod. So that's in there. We have 2 front beacons and 2 rear beacons, and they should change. I can't remember which channel I had them on. Didn't have it on that one or that one. Had it on that one. And off. So that should be off on both ends. It is. So the first set will be rotating. Let me pull that out a little bit. So we have 2 rotating beacons. Let's see if they stay in sync. I don't think they will. They will initially, but I think they might. Yeah, they're starting to lose sync now. So leave them on long enough. Yeah, they've lost sync, so eventually they'll catch up. And off. And the same goes for the front. Switchy switch. Rotate. Slow rotate. Strobe. That is exactly the same on the rear. So yeah, that's stage 1 done. Now for the other connections, which is I'm going to do the reverse lights first, then I'm going to do the marker lights, and then I'm going to do the 6-pin cable. So it's going to be a 5-pin first for the marker lights, then a 2-pin for the reverse lights, and then the 6-pin for the trailer lights. So let me get all those done, and I will be back very shortly. So now that is on the outside, which I wanted to kind of avoid. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it black, because I don't know, it's got the aluminium tank, the aluminium coupler plate, and the aluminium gearbox cover. I don't know. If I don't like it, I'll paint it. But as you can see, that fits quite snugly on there. I think that needs a slight adjustment, but that looks pretty dang sweet to me. And this handle matches the handle on the 5th wheel and the slider. So yeah, very happy with that. It looks the biz. Right, another rethink. This was going to be for the reversing lights. Again, that's been heat shrunk on to the end of that. And then that can be pulled in, but that's still quite, it's not very flexible. So I've had an idea. I've got one of these that, I mean, it is being used, but it's a lot thinner. It's that fabric covered USB cable, and this is quite long, and I should get decent lengths out of that. So let's have a look at what's inside. And again, I can use the heat shrink over the end, and this has got 4 cores because it is a data cable, and that will be just one cable for let me see if I can't shrink that nylon back. Yes, I can shrink that nylon back, and then expose the inner cores. I think it's only supposed to strip individual cables, so I have 4 shielded cables in there, I think. Yes, red, black, white and grey. Right, I like that better. I like that better. Where's the other one I made? There. I like the USB cable a lot better. It looks more pleasing. That one is the one I'm going for. So I shall be redoing that one. It's not the cheapest materials in the world. I think this USB cable, which has the data transfer in it, I think they're about £11 each, and I got it for my PlayStation controllers, and I don't use them, so well, I don't use a PlayStation, so I'm going to make 5 of those up and not use the braiding, so that can go over there. And breathe. That was fiddly, but I like that better than the other one. I know it might not seem too much different on camera. That's to go in the MFC. So yeah, happy with that. That will be my reverse lights because it is a 2-pin and it will only fit in one place, and I think reversing is J18 on the MFC 03, so that will feed under the Susie coupling and then plug into J18, which I will need to put in a Y connector, and we'll see how that turns out. So it's 19 and 18. You know, I'm not even going to risk it. J18 is reverse lights, and that's the 3rd one down. So it's 1, 2, 3. There's already a Y lead in there. I must have done it preemptively. So what I'll do is I'll take that out, plug that one in, and then get this one and plug that one in. Radio on. radio is on and my beacons are working, so just switch those off. That's this one, it's the big Molex. Everything seems to be going right. Turn those off and so if this works, it means we're going places. So put the clutch in. And they're not working, but they are working there. Clutch. But they're not working in the back. Why is that? Why is that not working? Clutch in. Holding this stick down allows you to rev the engine without it. Ew, interesting. I'm going to have a look into that. Right, I figured it out, and it was because I was an idiot. So now clutch in and reverse. The lights here. Let me dismount you. And the lights here. Let me turn those beacons off. Then you can see them reversing lights. Fantastic! So they work. Which I'm rather happy about. It shows everything's going well. I just forgot to make a note. Where did I put that one? Data cable, beacons, marker lights, reverse lights, red and green. I put them the wrong way around. So I can take this off, take the cover off and just swap those two wires around because the polarity wasn't correct. So I'll do that now. That's the reversing lights. Let me just turn that axle because it steers. Turn those off, and there is the reversing lights. Let's see how bright they really are, because I've got quite bright lights over my workbench. Wow, they are bright. I like that. Yes. Right. Now marker lights. So let's quit playing around and get the marker lights wired in. That's going to need 2 of those cables, and yeah, let's go. Right, I've made up the cables. I've replaced that nylon braided hose cable for the beacons with the USB braided, because it is more flexible. So this is the reverse lights, this is the beacons, and these 2 here go into that 5.1 and then into the lights. I've shortened the wire leads to a small unit so they don't take up as much room, and I can bend these. They're not as flexible, but once it's in, it is in. So I'm going to try the side marker lights to see if they work. So I'm going to have a quick look at my drawing that I made a very long time ago of what the voltage outputs were and what output did what. So I'm not going to wire into too many at the beginning, so let's figure out which ones I've already got wire leads in. It's there sticking in the back, and I can put that into J15, which is auxiliary lights. Right, that's all the markers reversing and beacons plugged in. Right, radio on, battery for the truck, that is plugged in, and switch it on. So we see the beacons are working. So let's put the clutch in and let's see if they work. Right, they're off. Now let's see if the marker lights work. Dual rate on. Right, I have front marker lights on, but not the corners. I've got the sides on. Right, they ramp up. So why aren't they coming on? Because the other side is on, but the front corners are not on. It's never simple, is it? So let's have a quick think why they're not on. Because I've got the right red and black left, right for red, black for left on there. So let me unplug those. And it's that one that's... Let me plug that into that Y cable. That's why, it's because it's orientated wrong. So, I think I need to change the orientation of that plug. Okay guys, this is where I am right now. I have spent a lot of time fiddling about with the wires, and the disadvantage of using USB cables with the datas is challenging. The wires are extremely thin and very brittle cores to the wires, so whenever I put everything together there was a broken wire. I took it apart, found the broken wire, repaired it, put it back together, there was another broken wire somewhere else. So I'm not going to be using data cables again in the future. Too much movement in the cables for the connections is going to break the cables very quickly. Right, so I don't know how long this is going to go. The marker lights on the trailer, they're not wired in, because I was hoping to get those powered by the MFC and mixing LED types, having 6 on the front with the front marker as well as these 2, and then having the rear 6 plus the outline markers on the rear bumper. I think it was just a little bit too much. I'm going to have a rethink and revisit my thinking around that. So right now everything else seems to be working. I don't know how reliable it's going to be with regard the cables. It's the cables that are the unreliable part, it's not the connections. The cables aren't meant to be moved around a lot like I have been doing. So where are we now? Let's turn on the radio. And turn on the MFC. And the lights, the beacons come on as default, so I just cycle through them to turn them off. And the cab lights up as I wanted it to, so dual rate on, so I can be driving around with DRLs. Let me reach across and turn off the big light. So there, the DRL's in the corner. The next cycle will be headlights, roof lights, and that lush interior. That's really quite good. And then the next set of just the third one ramps up and then stabilizes. And then I have the last one is that with the flashing lights on that one, and then of course the hazards with the side repeaters. And that does transmit into the rear bumper, of course. So I have right indicator and left indicator. Brilliant. I have the 4-way flashes, and I have the rear lights. Not the best lights in the world, because the Carson are 7-chamber lights. You've got your 4 LEDs for each chamber, so when you put your brakes on they all light up. And then I have my reverse lights, which I like to have my 4 ways on. And of course, with this being a ballast trailer, you never move it without having your beacons on. So yeah, I am disappointed that I couldn't get the side markers done, but that's something for me to revisit. Right now I was getting a little bit wired, so to speak, over the thing. I know people will be saying, why don't you fit your Bayer system in? Well, I'd already got the MFC in, so it's going to stay in. And it's going to stay in because everything was geared up for that way before I bought the Bayer system from Germany. So the next trick is to kit this load bed out and get that done. But overall, pretty happy with that. I'm going to try and clear off my bench, and I'm going to give it a bit of a drive on the bench. I do like that pattern on how it's random. How it goes out of sync. I do like that. And that's also the same with that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm going to test the rear steer now. Right guys, that's all I'm going to be doing with it for now. I will be sorting the load bed out and just trying to get some ballast weights. I'm going to try and make my own, and partial pallets as well as everything else. But overall, the tractor unit I am incredibly happy with. That has turned out absolutely brilliantly. The paintwork on that is superb, and yeah, I there's nothing I can't point out on it. So yeah, happy with that. Initially disappointed with the Ballast trailer from Fury Bear, or Nooxion as they're now called. Assembly quality was appalling. It would have been much better if it was a self-assembly kit, because all the parts are absolutely brilliant. The trailer wiring that you get with it is not brilliant, so that's why I've ended up trying to do my own. Got the number plate light on there. The number plate lights don't work because they were all part of the side lights, which I think that's what the biggest problem was. I've got some bits and pieces that I'm hoping to get made into a load. Got some kind of steel rope there. I'm going to paint these up. Don't know what I'm going to do with that, so I'm going to get creative on that. But overall, I'm going to call that done for now. Obviously, I need to revisit the marker lights. I have kept one of those Scania 8x4 heavy haul because I've got ideas, but if I build that, I will be building it with a bear system in it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy this because I spent a lot of money on that trailer and I've never took it out. So that's going to have its outing. I think it's going to be ready at the end of the month. I'm going to try and get the chains around it at the minimum. And but yeah, it's well overdue for a run. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned until, I know it's normal mode. So stay tuned because we'll see where the trailer goes from here.